Hello, we're back. Yes, I seem to be doing two of these live streams today. Someone had requested I do one at 1 p.m. UK time, so I did that for half an hour. Didn't have so many people on it, but it was nice to do some interesting questions people asked, actually. Interesting stuff. And now I'm back for my regular 6 p.m. slot, so let's see who rocks up. It's kind of gone sunny again here in the UK, at least in my part of the UK in Dorset. You can even see outside. Maybe let's have a little look outside. Can you see out the window? You can see the pine lodge next door to me and stuff. And a bit of blue sky up there. I'm going to go out in a bit, I think, for a pint, maybe. Good British tradition with my girlfriend. Find some. It's such a beautiful time of year. We're nearly on the solstice, and it's so nice just going out in the evenings and having a beer somewhere. It's really cool. I'm feeling quite, I don't know, kind of relaxed the last few days. I'm not a super relaxation person. The curious thing is I've been taking this molecular hydrogen stuff, which my mate Dave has been banging on about for some time. He had some body damage from car accident stuff, and he said it really helped him recover. And it's supposed to like reduce fatigue. It's making me really super relaxed, this stuff. I don't know what it is, if it's that, but it seems pretty good. I'm not really into all these kind of, cures. In the field I'm in, the alternative world, there's like a cure for fucking everything, man. And it's like there's just tons and tons of it. But oh shit, I should have switched my notifications off. Let's just do that. No, won't let me do that. Okay, there's like cures for everything, and I don't really buy it. But every now and again, I like to just give something a try. And I thought, this molecular hydrogen stuff is kind of interesting. It's like very strongly attacking free radicalization in the body and that. And so I bought a bit of that stuff. People often pay me on PayPal, and I don't really use PayPal, so it accumulates. So then I go and buy a load of stuff to try it. So I bought some of that, and I bought some of the ones you drop in water just to give it a go and see what it's like. And thus far, I like it when stuff does stuff. It's definitely doing, I don't know, I have a sense of it doing something. So I'm going to stick with that for the next month or so and see how that gets on. Otherwise, I'm looking forward. I've got spiritual boot camp in about a week's time. That's the first 3-day intensive I've run here at Lila of really my own thing with the bioenergetics. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm regularly co-running longer workshops, but this is really my own thing with my own little team. So I'm looking forward to that and having 3 days with people to really, to see where can we get to in 3 days. The first thing for me in a workshop, in a longer process, like a weekend workshop or longer, is trying to establish trust, between me and the participants, that they can trust me, and also between each other, that they start to create a bit of a bond. Because inevitably everything goes deeper when everything is kind of reliant on trust, as I see it. And you can't just fake trust. You have to be present with people with your heart and with your intuition, and then and you have to feel responsible for the journey to a degree. And then hopefully you can create a bond of trust. And generally I've been pretty successful with that in terms of the feedback I get. So I'm looking forward to having 3 days with about 15-20 guys, and just guys and girls, and just see where we can get to, with a lot of bioenergetics, with some high energy stuff, also some relaxing stuff, but also working a bit with this trust in the group. Because when the group can start to reveal, there's always, I answered a question about shame the other day, and there's a lot of it we keep inside the society we live in. We end up keeping so much stuff inside, fear that we can't put it out, or we don't find a forum where we can put it out. And then it's kind of toxic when it's held inside, secrets, I'm half Iranian, and I come from, I was adopted, so I was not brought up by my Iranian dad at all. But when I started to try and trace him and find his family, and they were rich, but they were so secretive about everything, it did my head in, like this layers of just secrecy, and it's so fucking unhealthy. He died, poor soul, of a brain hemorrhage or something like that some years ago, but and I never met him, my real dad. But I was just struck by this kind of pathological secrecy. Of course, I understand a little bit the backstory coming out of Iran, and the Shah fell, and then there were the communists, and then the mullahs, the hardcore Muslims, took over, and all the old businessmen they legged it out of the country, and they were paranoid. But secrecy is not. Sometimes you have to keep things secret, but you really don't want to do it any more than you really need to. That for me is clear. Secrecy is not a good thing generally. And in some ways, the human race we're stepping beyond the whole kind of Cold War fighting. Maybe we're going to have more like a monoculture soon. I don't know. And companies will run everything. Governments will start to disappear. Banks will start to disappear. And the companies will just run everything. Be a bit more like a monoculture, and maybe something a bit more exciting can emerge in that. I look forward to it. But I mean, like maybe something a bit interesting can emerge from that. I think I've largely dropped this whole world-changing thing. Maybe I haven't, but I think a lot of it has dissipated for me, and it's more enjoying life and looking for meaning in my own life. What gives me meaning a lot of the time is supporting other people in their own process of development, helping to create like a new generation. And I was something I found a lot recently is there's a lot of young guys out there in their 20s or so who want something different. They're used to this same kind of 25-year-old man bitch at each other kind of culture, and they want something different. And those guys I like to support in particular, where people who are interested to look deeper, because we all shut down at some point as we were growing up. We shut down, and we thought, it's not safe to reveal what's really going on inside. And then we live through this kind of, projecting an image outwards from the mind, and for a while try and convince ourselves this is really great, and somewhere underneath it we know it's a chunk of shit, and then of course we're ripe for exploitation by the society, by the culture. And an interesting theory I came around, relating to young guys, I came across recently was like that the principal purpose of war, because if the number of young men in society rises above 15% or so, the chances apparently of inner strife in the country, insurrection, rebellion, the existing power structure getting changed or deposed rises a lot as a number of young men in culture get above 15%. So any kind of patriarchal power structure, any power structure in particular, is very busy to keep the number of young guys either down or really keep them suppressed, So, they start wars with other countries that have got a lot of young men, so they can send all the young men to war and die or get otherwise totally traumatized and fucked up, basically, And then they're not such a threat to the power structure. And nowadays, I see a lot of young guys, they've got cheap weed everywhere, you've got lots of alcohol everywhere, you've got pornography everywhere, you've got, computer games everywhere. And it's not that any one of these things is so terrible, but taken together, and your whole life as a young man can be sucked into that. And there's a reason somewhere behind that a little bit. It certainly suits the culture, it's a big conspiracy, but I mean, there is something where young men have so much potential to step up and really change society, and that is perceived as an active threat, I believe, somewhere in the culture. It is perceived, powers that be, they don't want that. So now that war in Western society is becoming unfashionable, and 30 years ago you could just start a war if you were a government, and everyone, you only had one media channel, and you just talked a load of bullshit, and everyone thought, yeah, we're going to go and fight these guys, and all the young people get drafted and sent off to war. They all get fucked up or killed, and there's no more problem with the young men. And now you can't really do that so easily, because a lot of people are seeing the long-term effects of war, which are horrendous. Anyway, it seems pretty quiet today. I got like one person watching. Usually we're up to 5 or 10 by now. So I'll see. I mean, it's kind of a nice evening as well. Let's just see if a few people rock up, if I get some questions. If you're tuning in and you want to put something out, just put it out. because yeah, so I'm interested. There is an increasing. I even saw this woman on Channel 4. I wasn't actually watching Channel 4. I don't really watch the TV. Saying, yeah, we got to do something for young guys because they're just lost in our culture, and they are. The pre-Christian kind of cultures that had this whole rites of initiation you went through to become a man, and you felt the support of your brothers, your elders, and your peers, and you move forwards. And somewhere, for young guys in particular, it's just not really realized how shit a culture they're brought up in. It's fucking awful, basically, in a lot of ways. And that's pretty much worldwide as far as I see. They're really not given the support they need to really step up and manifest their potential. So I've got a soft spot for the young guys, and just it's good to see them when they come to workshops. I like it. People hit me up on WhatsApp or Facebook and ask me about a workshop, and I'm happy to support people. It's like I have boundaries as well. I'm not going to just kind of give all my time up, but I'm happy to do my best for some hours of the day, because it's like a really wasted resource in our culture, the immense potential of a lot of young people in general, but young guys in particular. They really get a shit deal, I feel, out of money, and that's barely even recognized yet. It's barely recognized. Don't get a good deal. And the bottom line, of course, is you have to sort it out yourself largely. It's like expecting this. I like YouTube. It's kind of cool. I have a feeling like that. I put a couple of things out on DTube. This friend of mine was telling me about it. Says do something on DTube. So I did a couple of things, but I don't even know if anyone watches them, because on Steam you can't really. It doesn't seem to tell you the number of views and stuff. So I don't know. I put a couple of slightly edgier things out there, and I just thought I'd see. Thomas Shellen. Hey Thomas. Hi. Yeah, man. You don't have to if you don't really want to, but I mean, for free. What do I think of character structures in relation? It's kind of gone out of. A lot of people ask me about this, about Reichian characterology and that, and it's gone out of fashion a lot now. I did a course in it about 10 years ago at least, maybe even longer, and it's gone kind of out of fashion. I was rigid at the time. I think rigid was primary characteristic, maybe oral was second. I'm not sure. For one thing is, it's just not. I guess it appeals to the objective mind, to have things nice and tight. I'm in this category and I can work on it, I understand that. So it is useful, but it's gone out of fashion a lot. The basic thing that I see with body work is just to get in there and do it. If you need that objective kind of analysis, because that's just how your brain works, then you can do Reichian characterology. There's also a thing these days where they look at like 7 layers of the body, going up and down the body as you stand up. And there's like different exercises for your eyes, for your throat, for your heart, for your gut, for your belly, for your legs. There's different gut, sexuality and legs rather. That's another way of compartmentalizing the body a little bit and looking at it. I haven't learned a lot of that stuff, though I know exercises that work in those different areas for sure. I mean, something I haven't brought out in my own work on YouTube is so much the eye exercises, and I think I will get started with some of that stuff soon, because the eyes carry a lot. Some people, you can see their eyes are really avoidant. They don't want to look, and that's just a lot of tension that's held around the eyes. And so eye exercises, you can really work with that stuff. But I think this characterology it's okay, but it's out of fashion right now. And I guess Reich is kind of a little bit out of fashion. It's not so much about Reich around. And I don't know if it needs to come back. What we need more of is like social therapy. That's what needs to come big time. Understanding, it's come on a literature phase, with books about men and women and I'm all right, you're all right, that kind of thing. But like to really get in there into understanding an attachment theory. I've got a great book on attachment theory in relationships, useful social stuff. That stuff that needs to come back. I don't see that Reich needs to come back or something like that. And I guess Jung and Freud will always be with us anyway. But I mean, a lot more social therapy stuff needs to come out for me, because people get engaged with it. I was teaching at a place, teaching bioenergetics about 2 years ago, and it was all women coming at this festival. It was like I can't remember, the festival for women, about 30 of them there, all in about around their age 40 or so. And there was a giant whiteboard there. It was like a business room. And so I got my pen out, whiteboard marker, and just started writing a load of social theory stuff out. And people were so engaged with it. It was unbelievable. They were just like, these women were just fascinated by this stuff about how relationships work, how we hide from the other in relationships. Not boring Freudian, Jungian, male, mental, blah, blah, but real useful stuff for you in relationships, for you in friendships, for you in sexuality, for you in your job, in a hierarchy, So, that's what I think needs to come. Thomas, I wanted to ask a phenomenon I noticed lately myself. Every time I commit to new goals for myself and it's like a week later, I forget about sticking to it. Is there something I can do? One thing you can do is get something like this, man. You get a little book that you can stick in your pocket, a blank book or a lined book, and call it Thomas's Resistance Book. And write out here all the fucking excuses that you use to not do things. Write them out, and once a day use them. Make sure the book is small enough so you can carry it around all day in your pocket, and have a little pen or something with it. Sometimes you can get a book, a little pen. Don't make it too big, make it really small, and write out all the stuff your mind comes up with. When there's a task you got to do, you got to do it, but you're just going to put it off. There's always an excuse. Can't be bothered right now, or they'll wait, or they'll probably complain if I talk to them. I don't want to face it right now, whatever. You just write down all the excuses, that lot of judgment. And at some point with that, you start to know your excuses so well, So that can help. That can help to build a bit of determination, that you start to really understand this layer of resistance inside. You got what you're aware of, you got where your shit is, and then to stop the two meeting, there's this layer of defense. To keep us out of deep, intense, repressed feelings, there's a layer of defense. And, it's protective. It believes it's protecting us. And it's riddled with reasons and excuses. It's very, very clever sometimes. It's very, very clever. But if you start writing it out, it helps. I struggle to write it out, because that's my own fucking resistance. It's my own fucking resistance. I got the resistance book, but I struggle to sit and write it out. And you have to write it out, And then you take yourself on to another layer. Give it a try and let me know if it helps. Yeah, because there's a lot of it about, man. There's a lot of it about. It's this middle layer of protection, essentially. And it runs across all areas of our life. Yeah, something that you really want to do and you never fucking do it, You just give ourselves excuses or eat snacks or something, So give it a try, man. Hi there, thank you. How to integrate the anger and be dominant. Okay. How to integrate anger. You gotta, like any emotion, you have to feel it for a start, And anger's a little bit complicated because, in a sense, what people call anger is not always anger. In a sense, it is anger, but not really, There's a lot of aggressive people around who posture, they carry themselves like, don't fuck with me, And they got this body movement type, You see it in cities a lot where I grew up, in London and stuff, But like, that is not really anger. Anger is when you can really feel it and express it, Work with expressing your anger. Work with opening your throat. If you want to give me a little bit more information, maybe I can be a bit more specific. How to integrate anger. It's a little bit abstract for me, But the bottom line is, you have to feel comfortable with anger. And when you feel comfortable with it, you often don't have to be angry. People who get victimized, who get bullied, they are somewhere blocked. They are somewhere blocked. And then on a deeper level, like God is coming to give you shit because you're blocked. He's not giving you shit because you're blocked. He's coming, or she is coming to alert you, to put it in your face. There's a block there. You end up getting bullied by people who just like to bully because that's what they do, So anger's this awesome emotion. The thing with anger is it's a little bit difficult to work with it on your own. You can to a degree, but it goes deeper when you can join a workshop. I do a lot of work with anger. I do more bioenergetics these days, but I still incorporate anger work in there when I've got the sound possibilities. Mohammed. My boss is very exigent. I'm not quite sure what that means. It may be a real word or it may be an auto thing. And I am very nice with my subordinates. I am blocked. Any suggestions? The bottom line is you got to look, what is your authentic position? A lot of people play the nice guy. Because especially in today's culture, everyone's bored of the old boss who just lectures you and, and tells you what to do. And everyone wants to feel part of the team, but you also need leadership. You need to be able to say, this is what I want to do, You can't, you gotta make friends with that side of yourself. And the only way really is to make friends of a side of yourself that's a fucking Hitler as well, If you block it, then it just sits there inside of you and you're avoiding it and you become the nice guy. But then you find after a while, nice guys find after a while their life doesn't work. It doesn't work. Women classically aren't actually sexually attracted to them. Women are rarely sexually attracted to nice guys. If you've been through bad relationships, bad sexual experiences, trauma as a woman, a nice guy might be what you need for a while, but once you're healed, usually you'll move on from there. That's what I see. That's what I see. They want to, you want somewhere a bit of polarity. You want to feel the sexual chemistry. You want energy from the man, and you might need a nice guy for a while, but you just have to fucking drop it. And it's your life, man. You're often coming on this on this channel. You got to look, can I get out there and do some fucking workshops and take myself on a bit more? I'm not sure whereabouts in the world you are, Mohammed, but have a look, man. If you can get in and get to do some workshops with anger, so you start to feel confident with it, because it's not easy to work on your own with anger. It's not impossible. You can do dynamic meditation, shouting and screaming a bit, or using a pillow to shout and scream into, but it's not the same. It's when you've spent decades repressing an emotion, it isn't easy to work on your own. It's not impossible, but it's massively supported when you can get into groups. Algeria, yeah, tricky. I've been in Morocco a lot. They asked me to be aggressive, and I can't. I'm from Algeria. Well, you've just got to keep practicing. A lot of people shout in the car. Can you, get down into your gut feeling? Down here in the belly is where you want to be, Mohammed, down here. And then when you can get down there, you have a certain gravity to you, and you don't necessarily need to shout, but people take notice of what you say. They feel you, on a deeper level, and they're less likely to fuck around with you, So you can also do things like this belly workout, man, and get some energy moving in your gut, And if you ever get to Europe, come and see me. Come and do a workshop. Come and do something, and we get you moving a bit like that. A workshop could really support you. But if you can't do that, you've got to get some energy down low in your body, in your gut. You've got to learn to drop the nice guy thing. It's not easy. Also, on my YouTube channel, there's a little workout. It's about 20 minutes long. You can do it every day, and it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy workout. Look for it, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And have a look for that, Mohammed, and see if you can get that going. A few people told me that really supported them. Do it for a week and see if you feel different. Check it out. Thomas, the book is a great idea. My next question that comes up when I feel stuck, unhappy in a situation, is there a chance it's just resistance? Well, it could be. It could be just resistance, or it could just be that you're not turned on to what you're doing. It's not what you really want to do, It could be resistance. All you can do is, the thing that's very, very useful, is a great investment, is this book of resistance, because it's like you start to really know how your mind avoids, then your mind will adapt and change a little bit. It'll come up with new excuses, but then you're on its case, and at some point it starts to just think, fuck it, and go on holiday a little bit, and it lets the shit come out. It lets you let go. And then you see the protective, resistant part of you in the middle is the protective thinking. It's also come from a position of having to protect you maybe when you were a kid, and it doesn't actually know. It's like one of those Japanese soldiers that's still fighting the war like 40 years after the war is finished, And, it needs to see that actually you're okay now. You can feel more, you can do more, you can take on more, And when it can see and feel that, it starts to let go a bit, and it comes in layers. Also, what supports it is feeling confident to be angry around people, feeling confident to show your pain around people, because a lot of a protective layer inside essentially is just trying to protect you from your own emotions that are blocked. It's just trying to protect you because maybe as a little kid you had to. We haven't done enough, or certainly I don't know enough about brain chemistry and evolutionary biology and this kind of thing to know exactly how the brain does it. But what's clear is that the brain has a mechanism when we get trauma in early life, like under the age of say 4 or 5, is that it stores it away. And then it has the intention to release, but somewhere our culture never really encourages that, and we end up not releasing. So we have to take responsibility and take it on ourselves. Thank you, Dev. This resonates with me. Okay, Mohammed, cool, man. Do I need change and resistance blocks for change? It's very hard to know, man. It's very hard to know. All you can do is get to know your resistance, and keep working on yourself. I knew a lot of people who worked on themselves when they changed their job. Sure. Good friend of mine, she was working in the prison service for years, and after doing some therapy for a while, I was doing groups a lot in those days. She just said, I can't go back to working in the fucking prison service, and did something different. Sometimes you change your job. Sometimes if it's a job where you're kind of underling or whatever, you feel more confident when you do therapy, and you feel more up for stuff, and you can go and do something new. You can get out there and do something new. It's very hard to know just off the top of your head whether, it's a mind fuck, basically, man. It's a mind fuck. Is it, do I need to change, or do I need to change the outside, or do I need to just look inside? Sometimes you just need to get a new fucking job. It's simple as that. Any advice on how to deal with a classic narcissist who is trying to find a way into your life and boundaries are not your strongest point? Parent of a student being intrusive, active. Okay. I'm not entirely following. I don't know how much you feel okay to share, but dealing with narcissists, the fact is, so they're kind of sucking you in to listen to their story all the time. That's what narcissists often do. It's always a bit me. I'm a little bit on the narcissist axis myself. What the underlying thing is for you, you can't easily change the other. So you have to learn how to hold good boundaries for yourself. And if you meet up with someone and they're just sucking all your bloody energy, and an hour later you think, Jesus wept, I'm just sucked fucking dry here, you need to find a way of stopping that from happening. You need to stop that from happening. Passive aggressive text. So someone's sending you passive aggressive texts, you need to be able to set a clear boundary with people. That's the bottom line. And one thing is to work on that, work with the anger, work with the throat center, getting the throat open so you feel okay to express your rights. Another way is to look what's in the way, what's stopping you from saying to this person, hey, I don't like what you're doing, and I don't wish to connect with you right now if you're going to send me messages like this. It's as simple as that. What stops you stating your boundary? Usually there's a mind fuck that comes up somewhere, and the bottom line is, it's not okay for me to state my boundaries. But you've got to practice stating boundaries. And if it's someone who's just aggressively invading you, then of course maybe you need the cops or a lawyer or something like that. But if it's more social stuff, you need a way to set your boundaries. And maybe, you can still say friends with someone, but you can also, and finally they'll thank you, they'll thank you if you take it on and say, hey, I'm okay to connect with you, but I don't want it to be like this, Right now what you're doing is you're just talking on and on about you, and I would like you to listen to what's going on in my life as well. Whatever it is, just find a way and you'll feel good about it. Look inside. Is it okay for you to state basic healthy social boundaries? If not, the classic therapeutic thing to do is to work with anger, to really feel anger. Aggressive body language and gestures trigger anxiety in me. Yeah, well, that that's okay. Look, if there's, one thing is, can you work with your own anger to put it out and feel confident? Because, people who are essentially a bit bullying, whether it's passive aggressivity or they're leeching onto you narcissistically, they look for someone they can get away with that shit with. They look for someone they can get away with it with. That's they're tuned in like that. And, you need to be able to hold clear boundaries for yourself. The quickest way, like I say, is to come to a workshop working with anger. If that's not available to you, you just got to practice stuff. When you work with the anger and you can go into anger, and clear some of the anxiety out in a kind of held situation with a proper experienced workshop leader present, then you will feel much, much easier just to say no. Look, I need to stop you right now, and just what you've just been doing for the last 15 minutes is not working for me. You'll feel okay to stop people, basically. If you can't do that, then just keep practicing this stuff. Look for a way that you can state a boundary. and just practice it. Maybe it gives you anxiety to think of it, but finally you have to go through that a little bit. You got to be willing. It's like behavioral therapy in the old days, back in the 50s, Skinner and stuff. You had a phobia about something, you find a safe way to progressively approach it, and you keep breathing and feeling and reassuring yourself you're okay, and slowly it starts to process and you feel okay. You're scared of a cat, and you start to get 10 meters from a cat, 9 meters, and you breathe and you feel your body, and eventually you can do it. And it's the same with stating boundaries. Practice stating boundaries. Look for anger workshop. How can I avoid being affected by the energy of others, like getting dragged out of a good mood into a bad mood they may have? Classic symptom of repressed anger is this sponge-like quality we often have. I often get clients, I feel like a sponge. I have to avoid, either times when I'm feeling vulnerable, or I have to just avoid half the people I know. I have to fucking avoid them because I'm just sucking in their negativity. The classic symptom of anger is blocked. Basically, the classic symptom of anger is blocked. If you can do anything to work with anger, it will support you. It will support you in this. You need the base chakra kind of open, and then that natural sense of boundaries that we're just talking about, stating boundaries. Also energetically, you will give out a boundary, and you can listen to people, and and you can be with people who are really fucked up, and if you need to. I know it's not a good thing to say for a therapist, but who are in a fucking state, or who are just leeching, or they've got negative energy, and you can be with them, and you can state boundaries, and you hold a better energetic boundary. Something, if you're just feeling too open, sometimes you can actually just kind of zip yourself up in your own imagination, your mind's eye, closing the front of your body like a zip. That can help if you have to work with people who are just, there's one person who's really like an energetic sewer, fucking vomiting out all over you, that can work. Zip it if there's no other possibility, zipping yourself up. I've seen it work. I've done it myself. Otherwise it's a classic symptom. This hypereffectivity by other people is a classic symptom of a blocked kind of base, and blocked anger is working with anger is the fastest way to move it. Often the scariest thing a little bit, because usually those guys are quite nice people. They've gone into the nice side, and it's tricky, but it will support you. It will support you very deeply. Thank you. I probably spend too much time giving out therapy and not practicing. Yeah, easy to do. Hey, easy to do. It's important to look. A lot of people, for example, who do counselling and stuff. I know a guy who's a brilliant massage therapist, fucking awesome massage therapist. Got the worst fucking body imaginable himself, because I think he takes on his client's energy and then he stuffs himself with donuts to kind of I mean, it's his own business, but he stuffs himself with donuts to kind of deal with it. And if you're working as a therapist, you also need to be able to especially depending on the type of work, with certain types of energy work, you open yourself up a lot, and then of course, if you're working on someone physically or just being near them, and they've got a lot of negative energy inside or whatever, you need a way to be kind of clear with that. You need a way to be clear with it. And the bottom line is, everything that comes into our life, all the shit that we think we have to deal with, somewhere it's coming from a deeper thing that's trying to teach us something. It's also true, eh? It's also true. It's teaching us, okay, I've got issues here. This is a whole process of life, whole process of life. While the underlying reason for it is this environment, this developmental environment that we're immersed in, and of course a lot of political systems and corruption develop, but the bottom line is still, for existence to maintain itself, there needs to be this immersion in a triggering environment. So stuff is triggered and we can go deeper. That is why, on a sort of soul level, and I'm not a huge spiritual person, we are in this environment now, here, alive, on earth. We're here to look, simple as that, to develop self-awareness through the triggering. It's God on a deeper level, without going into a big spiritual Glastonbury mindfuck story. It's God on a deeper level, who's pushing your buttons. And there's always buttons that get pushed, and we're in denial. No, it's not that. No, I'm just denying that. And eventually the button keeps getting pushed until we start to look. Or it gets repressed into the body. If our repression system's strong, you know, we somewhere avoid that, and we get very, very ill. We get ill. You know, it's another classic marker of lacking self-awareness, not really looking what's going on in our life. Okay, guys, I'm going to do about another 10 minutes, and if you're sitting there with a burning question, it's pretty quiet today on YouTube Live. I've had a bit of a quiet week for little things. I did a workshop on Sunday down in Brighton, and usually I get 10 people or so, 5 to 10 anyway. It's 2 hours of bioenergetics, and I had 3 people paid, 1 didn't show up. So I still had a good time leading it, and give myself a little workout, and it's nice to meet new people. But I was a bit, wow, numbers are down a little bit. And what I'm noticing is the longer workshops are pulling people. If I do a day, then I've got 10, 12 people, which is, if I'm doing it on my own, is totally enough for me, you know. That makes a bit of money for me. And so the 1 day workshops and the 2 and 3 day workshops are all booking up, and the sessions are kind of dropping, which in a way is cool, actually. I guess people recognize that, you got to get stuck in there a bit. And it's so great to have like week-long workshops, to go and be able to give up a week and really get into some stuff, to drop your whole day-to-day blah blah that's going on and get into your deeper stuff and your issues and work on it. We run here this 4 times a year at Oshalila in Dorset. We run a process called the Total Life Change. It's a 1-week process which I co-lead with some friends, and that's an awesome fucking process to give yourself. And this stuff's coming back in a way, it's really, people are getting interested in longer, deeper group process. So it's really, it's encouraging to see. It's encouraging to see. I'm thinking of dropping even the 2-hour sessions and stuff that I do in Brighton, and just staying with like doing a 1-day group every couple of months or so, and rocking it like that. And it also does give people a chance to really get stuck in and get deeper, and to start offering more one week stuff, I think also the culture, the society we're living in, people are doing a lot and they don't have so much. It's not so easy just to give up evenings and stuff, and sometimes to give up a week, you really get in deep for a week, and then you can clear a lot out. So I think people increasingly recognize the value of it, We've had kind of, the dance workshop phase where everyone's trying to heal themselves by going to dance workshops. And now we're coming into the, that didn't really work so well, did it, and let's do something deeper. So I'm happy that here in the community, we're offering more deep process work, and we're actually taking a little subtle kind of, directional change to do more of that, less sexuality, a little more and less of a kind of hanging around. Are there any places in Germany for workshops like that? You could check out the Osho Center in Cologne and see what they're up to. There's a lot of good therapists working out of there. And generally Germany is a good place for therapy, generally. It's generally good for bioenergetics and stuff. The Germans, very practical people like that, I salute them. And of course, it's also, I got German guys coming over for spiritual boot camp, it's like, it's pretty close on the plane, actually closer than driving down from the north of England or something, and the flights can be quite cheap. So you can also consider a little trip to England maybe sometime. Thomas, be happy to have you on a workshop. I've got something going on in about a week's time, and then in the middle of August, or late August, sometime around, I think it's around 17th, I've got a weekend workshop, and some people will fly in for that. And we can also, if you're down for a few days, you can also do a little bit of one-to-one with me, something like that, and we can really get something moving, or come for 1 week intensive here. Otherwise, in Germany, I would check out the Osho Cologne Center. Maybe it's called Uta, something like that. Osho Uta, I'm not really sure. There's good therapists working out of there, even if Osho sounds all a bit cult-like from the old days and stuff. There's still a lot of good therapists from that scene, a lot of good therapists, even though they dropped their sannyas names. I still got mine, but they worked with people a lot, because in this kind of work you need experience of really doing it. Just, you can't read it out of a book. It doesn't matter how many fucking PhDs you got, it makes no difference whatsoever. Fuck all. It doesn't matter if you know anything about Jung or Freud, it's meaningless. You need to log the hours in the group room, and a lot of the Osho therapists did that. They had hours in the group room, and that's what you need. You need to work with people who've got the experience in the group room, not theoretical experience, when you work with the body and with deep, intense emotions. So I would check those guys out, and just and see what they say. Call them up and see what they say. Maybe get a calendar. I'm sure they got a website, and see if there's any bioenergetics going on, or just ring them up and say, hey, is there any good bioenergetic therapists in Germany? Because from the sannyasins who are the Osho people, you know, they're getting on in age a little bit now, but they know their stuff, a lot of them, you know, they've worked a lot with people, so mostly they are good therapists. Okay, let's do another 5 minutes or so and see if any interesting questions come up. I know a lot of people will tune in the next week anyway and listen to it and hear my voice trolling on about things. So I guess it has been useful, helpful. Thanks. No worries, man. No worry, Thomas. You have a good evening, and I hope you can get some stuff moving for you, man. Remember, you know, yeah, there's problems and dramas in life, but we're here for this development. You know, that's what we're really here for. We're really here for developing self-awareness. You know, that's the bottom line for me. I'm from that school, self-awareness school. That looking inside, getting interested in all the triggers. What I like about it is it's kind of got a meditative side to it. I mean, it's also got a very social side to it, you know. When I got involved with School of Awareness stuff from the Human University in Holland, you know, my sex life improved vastly, you know. You become a lot sexier being, you know, from where you might think, how fucked up were you before? I was a fucking mess, you know, and you know, that's a great thing. It sounds dry, awareness, but you know, you get a lot of dynamism also from working with a body like this. Your energy's up, your vitality's up. You have different ways of approaching things, you know, and so you can get out there and chat to people and have fun and enjoy yourself, you know, and not be so caught up in the whole childhood dynamic any longer. So I don't know how old you are, man, but I just advise you just to fucking go for it, you know, just go for it and have a good time. Before government bans having a good time altogether, have a good time. It's got to be done. Okay, so last questions, anyone who's out there. And, you know, feel free to leave comments at the end if you want to, particularly if there's a time zone you feel you're missing out and you like listening to it, but it's not in your time zone, because I'm happy to do something maybe super early in the morning sometime. I'm often up quite early. So it's good for me to break my daily routine a bit as well. So just let me know. Let me know. Okay, let's do a couple more minutes. If anyone's there, anxiously typing out their thing, just go for it and let me know. I'm going to do a couple of minutes more. And then the sun's kind of gone in a little bit, but it's still quite a nice evening. I think I'll pop out to a pub with my girlfriend and have 1 pint of alcohol, 1 pint of beer. British people, we have this beer called bitter. You know, I never was a big lager drinker. We call, like, well, the German thing lager, you know, is like, that's the big thing in Europe, you know, but we have this thing called bitter, which most other races think is bloody foul, but we kind of like it. The guys like it mostly. It's not so popular with the ladies. But nice thing about living in the countryside, you know, it's all properly stored and there's lots of microbreweries brewing it, and you can have a nice peaceful pint of bitter. It's quite weak as well, you know, maybe 4% alcohol. It's not getting you caned, you know, if you're driving around. I got this old Audi car. It's about 10 years old, but it has an open top, one of the old A4 convertibles. I love it. It's been breaking down a bit recently, which does my head in, but it's so great in Britain. British love their convertible cars because they sell more convertibles here than anyway, because the weather's kind of good for it. Southern Europe is too hot, right in the north it's too cold, but the UK is just kind of right for a convertible. Go posing around the countryside. So if anyone's got a last question, please go for it. Otherwise, I speak to you next week, or send it in, or like I say, people email me with questions. But my favorite is if you just drop me a thing on Facebook Messenger. You know, just write out a few words on Facebook Messenger, your question, and I can leave a little voice message. You know, it's much easier for me, and then I'm happy to give a bit of free advice from my experience. No worries. Okay, guys, we're coming up to 45 minutes. Let's wrap it up. I hope you have a good evening. Feel free to like this stream or whatever. I don't know if that really does anything, but feel free to like the stream. I notice other YouTube people saying these kinds of things, so I figure I should do it. And keep doing it, you know. Keep believing in yourself, trust yourself, and keep moving forwards, keep moving deeper. Do the bioenergetics. Get the life you want. You deserve it. Okay, over and out.